Welcome back to My Conscious Dad on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. So before we went on the break, we were talking about the theory of be, do, have with Erica. And one thing I wanted to say that Erica had mentioned before we went on the break was, she mentioned that she feels, it breaks her heart, or it makes her cry, it makes her really upset to see this family on both ends, because she's this third party middle person who is now invested in their life. And I really identify with that. I feel like with my friends, I can see what they're doing, and I could see who they're not being that's giving them the results that they have. And it's also very complicated when I have a lot of ideas and theories that I think would work, and a lot of advice that I think would work, but delivering it simply enough, because it sounds good to us, because we understand this theory, we understand this idea, because for you guys have been dealing with it for 20 years. I only have about 5 years with it, but it's a theory that I know a little bit better than them, and it's hard to express it, or it's hard to explain it simply, like I said, because it makes sense to us in this form. So sometimes you have to really break it down. But one of the things I wanted to mention was, I think it's really great to get somebody, like a third-party life coach, a therapist, whatever it is for you, that can explain or give you ideas or new opportunities or a new perspective on your situation. And I think it's really great to have someone like Erica, who's not a parent, because she can see both sides. She's not biased towards the parent. She's not like, oh, I understand your kid's, a teenager and she's a brat right now. She can say, I know you think that, but she's just like that right now. Your daughter isn't actually a brat. So it's like, I think it's really great, obviously, to have that third person, but to have somebody who isn't a parent to offer insight is, in my opinion, maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, I think there's benefits on both sides, whether you are a parent or not a parent. I think that as a third party, as a third person with an observation that's not attached to one or the other, and that's what's great about a coach even, is that you're not attached. You're not in it, with the investment of, well, what's my daughter going to say and all that. You're a third party. You're out of it, and you can give an observation. You can open up some powerful perspectives for people to grab onto and take that and own that. And I agree with you. One of the greatest things that I've ever learned about Be Do Have came from a book that changed my life. And the book is called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And I don't know, Eric, I know that when I first ran across this book, I actually got this book because you were reading it at the time. And so were a lot of the transformational trainers and some of the mentors that I admire and look up to. They were talking about this book. They were calling it at the time a personal development book because it was brand new, it was fresh, it just came out. And it's now, for me, it's a spiritual book that I keep reading over and over and over again. And I keep having these new awarenesses and new breakthroughs. But I want to just share something out of it regarding Be Do Have. So
oh my goodness, Alex! I was about to do that. I have the book sitting here.
Oh, you're kidding me! Great minds think alike. Well, I'll share real quick. And I don't know if it's the same piece or not, but I want to share it, and I'm going to do it now. Most people believe if they have a thing, more time, more money, whatever, that they can finally do a thing. Write a book, take up a hobby, go on vacation, buy a home, or even engage in a relationship, which will allow them to be a thing, happy, peaceful, content, or in love. But in actuality, they're reversing the be, do, have paradigm. And in the universe, as it really is, as opposed to the way that you think it is, havingness does not produce the beingness. It's the other way around. So first, you have to be a thing called happy, or knowing, or wise, or compassionate, or vulnerable. Then you start doing the things from this place of being. It's like once you go to that way of being, the doingness is born out of it. You get clarity about what you need to do out of you first going to that beingness. And then soon you'll discover that whatever it is that you're doing winds up bringing you the things that you've always wanted to have. How does that sound? Was that a good description?
Awesome.
And it wasn't, and I didn't create that. That's not anything from me. That was something that I learned. And when I read it, I started crying. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I read this book, I cried. I actually had multiple experiences when I read this book, and it was the first time that I ever really experienced a book. Prior to that, reading books for me was just getting more information. But I experienced this book because it was so profound, and I was so ready for the what's next for me.
This is my absolute favorite book. I've read it, I think 18 times. I'm sorry. No, I've read it 23 times. And I am also listening to it in my car again.
Me too.
And it's the 17th time
Yes.
I'm listening to it in my car. And that wasn't the section that I was going to read. And so that was perfect, Alex. I just want to read this really quickly. It just says, doing is a function of the body. Being is a function of the soul. The body is always doing something. Every minute of every day, it's up to something. It never stops. It never rests. It's constantly doing something. It's either doing what it's doing at the behest of the soul or in spite of the soul. The quality of your life hangs in the balance. The soul is forever being. It's being what it's being, regardless of what the body is doing, not because of what the body is doing. If you think your life is about doing this, you don't understand what you are about. Your soul doesn't care what you do for a living, and when your life is over, neither will you. Your soul cares only about what you're being while you're doing what you're doing. It is a state of beingness the soul is after, not a state of doingness. Which, for me, is like...
What's funny is as you read that, I've probably heard it, through the MP3 a couple dozen times and have read it so many different times that as you're reading it, I'm already in sync with word for word because it's like music to my ears. It's the music that makes my soul dance, and I'm giddy because my soul's like, yes, that's what I've been trying to tell you since the day you were born. I've been trying to remind you that you are a mighty being, and that all you have to do is focus more on who you're being in each new moment, not necessarily what you're doing. And once you have that awakening and realize that and start to practice it, your life starts to unfold effortlessly. I've been notorious for making up my own words on my show, but it just seems that you can operate more peacefully and you're floating. You're just gliding through life, and it seems to be your soul's directing you into the right, paths and direction. But what a beautiful piece.
I think that with all of this, and especially with Be Do Have, but in our whole conversation, like you mentioned before we went to break, that, man, the thought just went out of my head. You were talking about, people living in not being willing to and choosing from past experiences and stories that they made up and things that occurred before that they gave meaning. What it comes down to is, we have these experiences in our life that make up the wholeness or the totality of our life. And we decide that those experiences will determine who will be. And I think that in the end, it comes down to trust. And so that's a whole different conversation, and something that is off to the left. But I think what's underneath all of that is trust. First, you got to trust that there is a power bigger than you. And once you trust that there is a power that's bigger than you, and that there is order in the universe, and that you really do have all of the power of the universe inside you, then you can trust to choose who you'll be. But if you can't trust, which then comes back to faith. If you have no faith and you can't trust in anything outside of you, and so many people put their thoughts and hopes, and they have been conditioned to rely on their religion or whatever it is, but that is not your soul. It's not pure. And you are searching for validation, searching for all of these things to help you be okay with the choice you made about who you're going to be. You do things because you don't trust the choice you've made about who you're going to be, so you do stuff and more stuff and more stuff, thinking that's going to change who you're being. So you go in front of your friends, and Jasmine, it's so funny that you brought that up about your friends acting a fool and doing things that, and you can see very clearly this is going down the wrong path. And you could help them, but you can't really articulate it for them. They are really kind of defining who they're going to be based on the choices that they make, whether or not they trust themselves or not. But what I'm hearing in this conversation with you and with Alex, and Jasmine, we've never really had an adult conversation. The only time I've talked to you are baby. And I just want to stop right now and say, Alex, I'm just so proud of you as a father for who Jasmine is. The effort, the energy that you and Yvette had to put in to teach her to be that is outstanding. I mean, outstanding. So I'm clapping for you guys. But I think that Alex had to trust himself. Yvette had to trust herself in order to be able to deliver being the kind of parents that were free. Free to choose, free to decide, free to love, free to grow. And then from that freedom, they did become a mirror for you, Jasmine, to be so conscious and aware. And so I often tell people as a coach, my job is to not see it the way you see it. Because if I see it the way you see it, we're all done. And so a coach's job.
Hence Donald Trump.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a different show. That's not on the show.
That is a different show.
That's a totally different show. Oh, goodness. But if we're all swimming in the same pile of muck, and my view is not, and my perspective is not wider than your perspective, then there's nowhere to go. And so to have parents who have a broader perspective that can show you a view of the world and of life and of choice and of freedom that most children in the world will not have the gift of experiencing, I think that there's nothing better that any parent can give their child. And I'm grateful to be experiencing this with you guys today, and grateful to be able to, put my nickel in, but y'all got the 15 cents rolling around by yourself.
Well, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. If I really look at my journey, and when I first decided that I wanted to be a better husband and be a better dad, and when I flipped that switch, I really took this be, do, have principle and put it in my back pocket. and I trusted it wholeheartedly. I didn't know that it was going to produce my offsprings that were just open-minded and aware and conscious and willing to challenge themselves and willing to make mistakes and all the great goodies that I'm being blessed with and that my wife's being blessed with and that they're being blessed with. But I really took that be, do, have principle, put it in my back pocket, and I kept focusing in every moment. Okay, Alex, who do you need to be? I need to be loving. I need to be vulnerable. I need to be accepting. I need to be trusting. I need to be forgiving. And so if I kept focusing every day, all day long on who I'm being, I needed to trust that in those ways of being, that the results were going to manifest in a way that was going to be valuable for all of us. And I still practice, and it's still an ongoing practice every day, all day long, focusing more on who I'm being or who I'm not being. And even in my results that I don't like them like that, I always self-reflect and go, okay, Alex, who are you not being, right? That's kind of like the question I think that most coaches, they go to is, who are you not being that somebody can't trust you? Or who are you not being that you can't get them to open up? I'm always doing self-reflection and always go back to who am I being or not being.
And it's funny, in my work, oftentimes, because we sit with families and we actually help them with their finances, and I'm the coach, so I'm teaching everybody how to do this and how to actually help someone with their money and teach them basic financial principles and things like that. But before any of that, the main thing that I'm teaching the agents that work in my brokerage agency is however you are is what's going to show up in front of you. So if you're fearful, guess what? You walk in the room being fearful, so are they. If you walk in the room being closed, or if you have a challenge with sharing your current financial position, because many of the agents that come to my brokerage agency, they're not financially free. They're learning from scratch and practicing and becoming. They are in the process of becoming financially free. And so, but if you have energy on that, if you think that that means something, so you want to hide who you are and what is really happening for you, then that's what's going to show up for you on the other side. And so whether it's a client-agent relationship, it's a parent-child relationship, it's a love relationship between, two people, two lovers. Whatever the relationship is, it doesn't matter. However you're being, if you ascribe to the philosophy that you are creator.
It's amazing how much, and we're going to go on a break right now, but what's amazing that how much we can, as human beings, we're so powerful that we can project our own beingness on others. If I'm bringing fear into a relationship or bringing fear even into a meeting, I'm projecting that beingness of fearful into the room, and it's almost like I'm tainting the whole space of possibilities. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back from the break.
Stay tuned for more of My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back to My Conscious Dad on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. If you're just joining us today, we talked about, and we're going to continue to talk a little bit about Be Do Have, but just real quick, just in case you missed any of it or you want to hear it again, you can always find our podcast online. So you can go ahead on your thought.
Yeah, you know what? It was funny because before we went on the break, Erica was talking a little bit about bringing your beingness into a room, and we're also obviously talking about the negative beingness. So you're bringing your fear or your doubts or your insecurity or your own unworthiness into a situation or a relationship or a party or a room. You could be projecting that into the space, tainting the space of unlimited possibilities for us to create something new or different. And so as she was sharing that, my knees started shaking. You know, when your knees start shaking, you was like, I got to get this out, right? So I thought about a story that one of my coaches, one of my good friends, his name is Dr. Ray Blanchard. He's a transformational trainer. And he shares a story about this workshop that he did. It was either a team building workshop, and it took place at an equestrian center where you get to walk in to a ring where a horse is standing, and you have to be able to walk in and project your beingness of safety and comfort and peace, tranquility, so you can walk up to the horse with your hand and grab the horse's leg and lift the hoof up. Now, if you know anything about horses, that they feel your energy. They're connected to your beingness. So whatever you walk in with, they're already automatically connecting with you, and you guys are participating in a oneness. So if you walk in with anything other than you can trust me, I'm going to lift your hoof up, and we're going to do this together, that horse will not respond. And so he talks about how when you're walking in, he's watching all these powerful trainers walking in the room with their own beingness of fearful, and what's the horse going to do, and is it going to participate with me, and what if it falls on me? And if you're bringing that fear, that beingness of fear in, it's not going to respond. And it just, as she was talking about that story, it really kind of highlighted the story when he talks about that. So what are your thoughts on that, Erica?
I 100% agree. I've never been in a ring with a horse, and I was thinking about how would I act.
But what a great test, right?
What energy, yeah, it's amazing. And you know, one of the things, going back to conversations with God really quickly, God says one of the gentlest and most connected things is nature and animals. For us to have that experience with our souls, and it just brought me back to that. And I 100% agree. And I think to make that story and make this whole conversation land at home, it comes down to this: be happy, be grateful, be joyful, be in a state of bliss, even when you don't believe you can. You cannot think two thoughts at the same time. And so, what you're choosing to project, what you're choosing determines what your outcomes will be and what your infinite possibilities are. There are infinite possibilities, but for many people, they are narrowed down to the 3 or 4 possibilities for them based on who and how they're being. So if you come from a beingness of openness, joy, peace, love, prosperity, if that's what you're being, you'll be able to have a whole range of experiences and possibilities open and available to you.
It's such an honor, and I want to thank you, Erica, for taking the time to be on our show. You're an absolute gift, and I appreciate the time. Real quick, we only have about 30 seconds. Can you tell us quickly what you do, what you're up to, and how can we get a hold of you?
I am with Transamerica Financial Advisors. My website is Erica, ERICKA, Tao, T as in Tom, OWE, WFGopportunity.com. And you can email me at etao at live.com. And I have a brand new office phone number that I don't know by heart, but I believe that number is 908-473-9166.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for joining us today on My Conscious Dad with me and my dad. We're here every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.